really cool. And we'll have everybody welcome in. It is Monday, January 29th, 1:30 p.m. Central. I am here with Emmet Peppers. For those that follow this channel closely, Emmet is a longtime Tesla investor, longtime Tesla, I guess we'll call enthusiast, somebody who's very familiar with the product. He's also somebody that's been hosting a, you still have your fund, right, Emmet? You still have?
Yeah, so my fund,
yeah.
it's, surviving, we'll just say that, but we'll see what happens. But the YouTube channel for Good Soil Investment and the open source research, that's all been kind of suspended for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And he is a brand new Cybertruck owner. So he picked up his truck a few days ago. He's been living with it for a few days. And this is what the conversation is going to be mostly about, is having Emmet here on the call. And we're just going to discuss his experience, the pros, the cons, what he's noticed, areas for improvement. We'll also collect questions from the crowd as well. So as we go towards the latter half of the discussion, I'll start pulling in questions from everybody out there that's watching this on both X and on YouTube. And yeah, we'll get started and sort of let's see what Emmet thinks. So you've picked up the car. What was it, on Friday of last week? Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't put it on like social media till a few days later, just because I was trying to keep it a surprise for my kids and stuff up until Tuesday afternoon. I got them at school, but yeah, I got the call Monday. I knew I got my VIN on December 9th or 10th when I did the order, but then it just, it seemed like it could be weeks or months until my truck would be ready. I wasn't sure, but then I got a call Monday saying like, hey, your truck's here. When do you want to pick it up this week? I said, can I come tomorrow? So, I drove down. It was about an hour away, the delivery center. So I drove down, picked it up, and got back in time to get my kids at their school pickup, which was really cool surprise for them. And everyone, all the kids at the school loved it, which was cool. So yeah, I've had it for about a week now. This morning I just dropped it off to get the windows tinted and wrap on it. So I'll pick it up at the end of this week probably, or maybe Monday, depending how long it takes them to do it all. But yeah, so I've had it for a full week and it feels like forever, but it's only been a week. There's a lot to say, a lot to go on.
Okay. So let me prime you with this first question, because I'm sure, my God, this is going to be quite a detailed discussion. The biggest surprise that you've noticed with the truck?
The most pleasant surprise was I heard the sound system was supposed to be good, and all the Tesla sound systems are great. I've always been happy with them. But the Cybertruck sound system, it's another level. It reminds me of when I was a kid growing up. I had like the old school Sony Walkmans on, and I would, listen to that. It was kind of cool. And then for my birthday, I picked up like a big 4-speaker stereo system from the Wiz, old store that used to sell like electronics, I remember, and in my room, and I listened to music. Was like a whole new experience now, for a while. And I feel like the last several years, I kind of stopped listening to music unless my kids are asking for it. And I listen to like news and podcast interviews and stuff mostly. Not that I don't like music, but I just didn't, on my own, it doesn't mean a lot, it's not as appreciative to me. But now I find myself in the Cybertruck just listening to music, like lots of old school things, like the remastered songs of things are amazing. Like anything recent, anything like modern technology, recorded and replayed in the Cybertruck is just like a whole nother level. It's like my 9-year-old who's like a music phenom. I'm the opposite of that. I'm like tone deaf, but he can pick out notes stuff. He heard it and he's like, wow, it sounds like they're singing right in front of me. Like it was so cool. So the music and the sound is like just so enjoyable. It's such a weird surprise. Like you asked the biggest surprise. That's the biggest pleasant surprise, I would say.
And which car did you come from? So you came from a Model S, I believe, or a Model X?
I traded in my Model S Plaid actually for this, which had a great sound system. And we also have a recent Model X. So I've got the latest. I haven't experienced a Model 3 Highland stereo system. I heard that's supposed to be, the new refreshed Model 3. I heard that's supposed to be great. But yeah, I can't imagine anything being better than the Cybertruck sound system. Maybe it's that deep windshield cavity or something. I don't know what it is, but there's something special about the acoustics in there.
Gotcha. So that's your pleasant surprise. So what's your unpleasant surprise?
I have a couple small surprise, unpleasant. Well, one is that the autopilot doesn't work yet, which I kind of knew, but I forgot how much I missed it. Especially when you have the Cybertruck and I want to like change the songs, or I want to like see, the cool interface or whatever. And I'm driving in this big truck. I can't like rely on the autopilot for even at all. I have to be totally focused on the road all the time. And so the lack of
What a first world problem.
yeah, first world problems. Yeah, I mean, it's just I was so used to autopilot and full self driving on my other Teslas, all the time whenever I needed it, or pretty much all the time. That it was that's sort of like I kind of knew that was going to be something I do, but I didn't realize how annoying that would be early on. So, and the other unpleasant surprise I would say is the attention you get from it. It's good and bad. It's a double-edged sword. Like part of me loves like, I feel like riding around, everyone's looking, pointing, and it's cool sometimes, but sometimes I just, I forget about it. I'm in this car, I forget I'm in this thing that looks like a crazy thing from the future, and I'm just driving, but people are like pulling up, trying to talk to you, and it's okay. I'm fine. I knew that going into it, but there's no turn off button for that. Like you just have to keep the car parked if you don't want to experience that. And not everyone's reaction is usually really good, but they're, the kids all love it. Young people pretty much all love it. But there are some older people, that will like have a negative reaction. They usually don't say anything, but you can kind of hear the whispers behind the back, or you hear that, oh, that person thought it was ugly or whatever. And that's okay with me too. You just can't let it get under your skin. It's a polarizing design. It's not for everyone. It takes time to grow on you. The first time I saw it at the unveiling event, I was a little taken aback, and it grew on me after time. So if it's the first time someone sees it, I can imagine some people's reactions are all over the place.
What's the proportion of positive to negative reactions to the truck?
I would say, with, kids, it's like 99% positive, maybe 100%. I don't think I've seen any kid not like it. With, people under 30, it's probably close to that too. It's probably like 90% positive. There's probably just some, old school gearheads that get a little annoyed about it or something, maybe, I don't know. But, I would say with the older people, I drove up to these tennis courts. My wife's playing tennis, and there was these old ladies playing tennis on the tennis court. And you could hear them saying like, "Oh, look at that! Oh, he even parked in the handicap spot." And they were like, "Even I parked there to show it off because I wanted."
How dare you, Emmet?
Yeah, exactly. And so, there's some older people that you can hear whispers. You can hear them sometimes react, and they kind of want you to know, but they don't want you to know. They'll like comment to you about it or something in a certain way that makes you feel a little uncomfortable, like reading between the lines or something. But that's okay. I mean, I would say maybe 20 to 25% of older people will, might have that reaction. Not that they outwardly express it, but of the people reacting, maybe 20 to 25% of the older people have that type of reaction where you can kind of read between the lines.
Do you think that's a Tesla reaction, or do you think that's just a generational reaction?
Definitely generational. Yeah, definitely
Okay.
generational. And it's, you want to say like, okay, boomer or whatever to these people, but you don't, I mean, me or you might have, I might have had that reaction if it was the first time I ever saw it, and I never saw it when I wasn't a Tesla fan. Who knows,
Yeah. It's been interesting watching a lot of the different reviewers. So I've seen a few of them in person. I haven't had a chance to really experience the vehicle fully. I'm actually speaking with somebody local to the Austin area. We might be collaborating on some stuff, and he took delivery of a Cybertruck. So I'm very, very curious to see that stuff, like that experience firsthand, especially how people react to it. Have you given rides to anybody? Like, has anybody like? Okay.
Oh yeah, I've let lots of people drive it. I've, with me in it, obviously in rides. Yeah, lots of people love it. Inside, it's super comfortable, super luxurious. The ride quality is like, that's another surprise. That's really pleasant surprise is like how luxurious it feels. The suspension, like driving through bumps. Like in my old Tesla, my other Teslas, it's like I drive over these bumps and I know there's bumpy road parts of the highway or the road. And this thing, maybe it's the tires are big and the suspension or whatever, but it's just like a little tiny ripple. Like you don't even notice it when you go over these bumps. It's just like so different. And then when I go back, and then now this next week, I'm gonna have to drive, our Model X again. Why this car, which, you know, that's an amazing car. But the couple times I've driven my Model X in this last week, other than the Cybertruck, it feels like I'm going back in time. Like, it's like, you know, when you drive a Tesla for a while, then you go back to an internal combustion engine car. It feels like you're going back in time. You're like, oh, this. But now I feel like that about the Tesla. It's
interesting.
So weird.
So is that a combination of steer by wire and the suspension and the cabin? Like, walk me through that a little bit. Help me understand that.
All of it, the whole ambiance, everything. Just like the steer by wire is very pleasant. The turning radius. I mean, you're just like in a spaceship that like floats, and like you're controlling like a video game, and it's like very smooth, and the sound system's incredible, and you're just, you know, you're pretty much invincible from, you know, whatever kind of car crash could happen to you, or bullets even, you know. It's like, and you have this giggle wiper when it rains. It's like, it's like, it's just all, the whole thing put together is just like, I don't know. It's just so awesome. But then like you think, oh, well, now I'm gathering so much attention to me because the outside design is so crazy. And, you know, sometimes you don't want to be in that mode. You just want to enjoy without having to worry about everyone's attention. But pretty soon there's going to be enough of these on the road where it's not going to be like I'm in the middle of a parade everywhere I go, you know?
Gotcha. How's the range been? Because I know that's one of the things that I know folks, once they unveiled it, and, you know, they've done a lot of, I've seen a lot of heavy duty testing of the range under load and in you know, less than ideal weather, and it seems like range is one of the biggest criticisms of the truck. So what's your experience been? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, my range experience has been good. I mean, haven't been in any super cold weather. It's been like in the 50s and 40s, 50s, and 60s here. So I haven't experienced like, you know, really cold temperatures yet. But so far, you know, when the other Teslas, when I drive 50 miles, like 60 miles of range goes down. That's just to be expected, maybe because I drive faster or accelerations or whatever. But the Cybertruck, for the most part, when I drive 50 miles, it just goes down 50 miles, not 60 miles. It's maybe because my bed is empty and they're accounting for people who are loading, picking things up. I don't know, so far. But also I noticed, you know, when you have the cover up, the you know, you get a little bit less range than if the cover is down. And it's kind of cool. Like, I was driving on the highway the other day, and I had the cover open for whatever reason. I think like I'd put my dog in it earlier in the day or something. I left it open, and then it started raining a little bit, and I was able to press the button to close the cover automatically while I'm driving on the highway. It was kind of cool. I was like, wow,
oh wow,
okay, nice little feature. So
even at highway speeds, you can close a tunnel. Yeah. No problem. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. That's cool. Yeah. I've been wondering if the Cybertruck over time is going to have sort of a similar type of, I guess, holding power than, let's say, a Model S first had when it first came out. Because when the Model S first came out, it made one pedal driving and the EV driving dynamics accessible to the quote unquote general public. It's still extremely expensive, and a giant majority of the population can't experience it. But they were able to see, oh wow, one pedal driving is kind of crazy. Regenerative braking is kind of crazy. Having the battery all the way at the bottom of the car and the handling dynamics you get is like noticeable. Instead of going around a turn at 45 miles an hour and feeling like the car might tip over, this thing's like glued to the ground. So like they're very noticeable sort of experience differences from a traditional gas car. And your comment around the Model X, how this was even, it felt like the future from the Model X.
Yeah,
it's almost like that steer-by-wire system. Do you, like, how big of a deal steer-by-wire now that you've experienced it?
It's a big deal. Like, it's very sensitive, but you get so used to it. It's hard to explain to experience it. It's like, you know, it's like, imagine trying to control like Mario Kart and all these games with like a conventional steering wheel in the car. Yeah, it'd be kind of fun, like you're really driving, but it's not but versus like your video game controller and be like, ooh, you know, like it was just like, it's like so much more. I can manipulate the steering and get into and out of places really easily. You know, it's just effortless. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me read part of the post you just wrote here that was in response to the post with all the pictures that you had, just so folks can get exposed to this. And then if you don't follow Emmet on X, at Emmet Peppers, he is a former member of the Red Hot Chili. I'm just kidding. And then here's the thing that he wrote. By far, Cybertruck is the best Tesla product yet. Forget the crazy looks, experience in the product, drive-by-wire, crazy air suspension, ride quality, stainless steel build quality, 48 volt, all the A+ engineering details. Really renews my conviction to hold as much Tesla as I can long-term like nothing else. Not investment advice, not financial advice, obviously. This is why I like to be such an early adopter of Tesla's latest tech, even when I know the early ones are most expensive and can have bugs or whatever in them. Can you sort of help the audience maybe gain a little bit better insight into this? I know we already talked a little bit about your questions, what you like or dislike, but maybe try to like help us understand how all these things tie together and what it means to the sort of bigger picture of Tesla as a company.
Yeah, well, I always think back to like the Apple iPhone, right? I mean, the iPhone, when it came out, I thought it was the coolest piece of technology ever. Everyone's saying, "Oh, it's so expensive to stock. Don't buy this. It already went up a lot. It's too expensive." And I'm like, "Oh, this phone is so cool, though. It's like the future." And I never bought Apple stock, and here we are, 15 years later, and the stock's, I don't know, 50 times higher or something. I don't know, some crazy amount. And you could say the same thing about the Tesla, I think, products, like the product. I saw that with the Model S early on. I experienced the test drive in 2011 or 2012, and then I got the car in early 2013, and I was buying Tesla all that time just because it renewed my conviction that this product is actually legitimate and going to be substantial. I didn't even dream at the time that the company would be as big as it is today. I thought maybe 50, 100 billion market cap. That's as far as I could see, 5 or 7 years, not 10 or 20 years in the future. So.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the Model 3 came out, you had kind of a similar moment where you're like, wow, this, or the Model X actually, and then the Model 3, and then, the Model Y, and now the Plaid was a little bit of that, but it was really the same form factor, just like a different architecture inside of it and different technology to drive it fast and all that stuff. But the Cybertruck is like an entirely new product category. I mean, it's still a vehicle, but it's a different category of vehicles. Has a lot of different technology, different engineering. And when you drive it and use it, you just experience that wow, this is the future. This is like by far the best, vehicle out there to drive and forget what it looks like, right? Like, but driving the thing, and being in it and knowing that it's like, knowing that it's bulletproof and all that is a nice thing. But even without that, just everything else about it is so amazing. It's just, I just know, like, if I could blink my eyes and it's like 5 or 7 years later, like, to me, I have a lot of conviction Tesla's going to be much, much higher when it makes products like this. Forget, short term, I don't know what's going to happen. Stock could go to 100 or back to 300 quickly. I don't know. It's like hard to say in the next 6 months or a year even. But I feel very convicted that long term from here, given the product innovation that they're doing still, it's going to be, wildly successful for years to come still, the company. So it's all about the product in the end. If it makes the best product, eventually the company's stock valuation will catch up, as long as they're making that product profitably. That's the caveat. And I know there's been some question about that with the Model 3, Model Y price cuttings and stuff. And that's always made me nervous, but in the last year or two, but I still think that's the best product in their categories, but as long as they're making money, obviously. Right. So.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting about this dynamic is like, the audience knows you're a Tesla stockholder. Audience knows I'm a Tesla stockholder. And the one thing I'm always conscious of is when I look at their products, I'm trying my best to remove any biases I have and view at the product for what it is. And if I'm going to build an investing thesis, I'm going to do it based on what I'm seeing, not because I'm already an investor, right? And so, like, walk me through the process that you go through. Help me understand how you're able to say, okay, this Tesla Cybertruck is giving me conviction that the company is going to perform really well in the future, without or by trying to minimize or without the potential influence of already being an investor that could be clouding that judgment. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you go through that?
Yeah. So trying to strip away my biases, that I already have, to realize that from the ground up, kind of.
Exactly.
I'd say that's probably impossible, like, to do literally. But when I see reactions of other people that were totally not interested in Tesla suddenly have a high interest level in this product and like Tesla because of the Cybertruck, that kind of shows me that, it's possible to not be a fan of Tesla or hardly aware of Tesla, and then suddenly become a big fan really fast because of this product, and testing it out and using it. And so combining that with just trying to figure out what to invest in, just tells me like, hey, Tesla's not a bad company to be invested in long term. It looks like they're creating a lot of new customers with this product.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. How much of that have you seen in real life? Like a lot of those new customers, and like if I give my sort of how I'm seeing it is, there is the when I read the comment sections of a lot of these videos from publications that have very little or nothing to do with, say, electric vehicles, and or they seldomly cover electric vehicles. Some of the early reviews of, say, like from Haggerty is very much a super automotive enthusiast focused channel, and then it was reviewed by somebody who I respect a ton, Jason Camisa, who's one of the most neutral automotive journalists out there. And then so seeing one person's take, obviously that's one take out of I don't know how many, but then reading the reviews and reading the comments from those publications and seeing how the public opinion, or it seems like part of the public opinion, is going from what the hell is this thing to, oh wow, I'm actually surprised by how well this is being performed, and then picking a little bit of interest. But then on the flip side, what I'm also really trying to dig for is there's videos of, say, there's a few videos of the Cybertruck going off-road, and then there was looks like some of the software capability is not up to par, and it's struggling to get up hills, and you got a Subaru, Outback that's like 30 grand. It's doing it no problem. You got this $100,000 truck can't make it up the hill. And then of course people are like, what the hell? What a piece of crap. People are testing this thing. It's a piece of garbage. I think I always find it interesting going through those videos and seeing what the public commentary is, because it also helps me try to reduce any bias I have and view the product for what it is. But one of the things that I'm constantly hearing from people that have experienced the car actually driving it was some of the commentary you just said, which is it feels like the future, which is weird to hear because electric vehicles are already sort of the future from the gas car, Mm-hmm. I just wanted to throw it out there because it's funny hearing that from you as well.
Yeah,
it's funny.
There's always going to be detractors. It's not perfect, from the beginning. There's bugs early on. I would say there's a lot less bugs that I haven't noticed any real. I think like my fasten the seatbelt error shows up sometimes when I still have my seatbelt, but that happens just once in a while. I don't know. There's like a couple minor. There was one other minor. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was like a scratch on the leather. I have to get part of the seat replaced or something. When they delivered it to me, they showed it to me because they did it by accident in the factory or cleaning or something. So there's nothing like major I can think of, but I did see the software thing for off-roading, and I was interested in taking it off-road. I've never done that, but now that I saw that a couple days ago, I was like, I should probably wait till they fix that software to, make it easier to go up the hills with this. There's some software update they probably need to fix, a couple things. So like every time you go to off-road mode, then you put it in park, it resets it. You have to go back to off-road mode if you just want to start it up again, even if you're on the same area or something. So that's like one little thing, kind of annoying. But then just the actual responsiveness of the different torques of the tires to get up the hill or whatever, they need to somehow adjust that on the off-road mode, it sounds like. So just a couple minor things, I think. And the looks, obviously, some people complain about the looks, and those people will always not like the look. They're not coming out with a square-shaped Cybertruck, It's always going to be triangles. But you can get different wraps on it and stuff, and so it doesn't always have to be stainless steel if that's not your thing. So I'm curious to see how public opinion changes, but there's always going to be some negative Nancy's, and you got to wonder how many of these commenters are trolls versus bots, possibly. I think I touched base with you earlier about how, on my post that I put up there that you showed, I put it as verified users only because when we did do you remember when we did our earnings call live stream as a group, and I showed you that like 1 minute video of my kids and you did on your live stream? I noticed in the comment section during that video, or right after, like people complaining, like saying negative things like, oh, just some negative, annoying things like trollish type things. And most of it was positive, but I was like, that's weird. And then when I put it on Twitter or X or whatever with verified users only, not one single negative comment except for the video quality wasn't great. And that's understandable, right? But there was no negative comments about the car or the kids or whatever. It's just like, so it makes me think maybe there's like unverified bots or trolls that are just like, I don't know, just like trying to defame Tesla, make, change public. Tesla's been hated by so many companies and car brands and politics and lots of, so there's been these troll armies against Tesla for a long time in the past when it was like the most highest shorted company in the world and stuff. So I'm familiar with some of this in the past, suspected kind of trolling stuff. So I think if you keep it at verified users only, there's a much better chance to get just like an honest take of what public opinion is.
I mean, the way I view that is that I just think it's, the larger something gets, the more people you're going to have that just naturally just don't like the thing. And a percentage of those are just going to be trolls. That's just what happens, It's 2024. The company's selling, almost 2 million cars per year. It's they're doing a lot of stuff now. The CEO is one of the most followed, engaged with accounts on social media in the entire world. And so, I would be surprised if I saw no hate. I'd be like, okay, what's Tesla doing? Are they like filtering commentary? So I think it comes with the territory. I think how I'm curious to see how this thing's going to evolve is, one of the theories I have is that the vast majority of the public, I don't think this is a theory. The vast majority of the public do not follow this space nearly as close as you or I do. Us two maniacs, right? We're crazy.
I just had my Uber driver take me back from where I dropped the place. It was like a 45-minute an hour drive back, and he was asking me all these questions. He had no idea about electric cars hardly, and he's an Uber driver. I thought by now Uber drivers are going to be educated about Tesla cars, but he didn't know that you can get a Model 3 for $350 a month lease or whatever. He didn't know how fast you could charge it at Superchargers. He just thought because he lived in an apartment complex without a charger, it's not for him. There's so many things he did not know about Teslas and EVs in general that it was surprising to me and all of us in our bubble here that, we all know about all this stuff, but anyone outside the Twitter, the X bubble has no clue.
Yeah. And then a couple more questions I want to ask you on Cybertruck. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit Q&A from the group. And then I want to hit other topics as well. So I want to make sure I get the Cybertruck questions too. Okay. Overall build quality inside and outside, panel gaps, materials, how stuff feels, how stuff fits. What are you seeing?
I love it. I mean, I haven't seen any issues. I'm not the type of guy to measure panel gaps with like, millimeter stuff, but a friend of mine who does look at that stuff looked at it and he thought it was very good quality. And, I think the build quality of mine is great. I understand some can have different changes to it or different panel gaps or different tones of steel on one door versus another, possibly something like that. So I don't, but mine seems to be perfect to me. I mean, I love the stainless steel look too. And I really was conflicted. I wanted to keep it, but the fingerprints are kind of hard to clean off. That's a little bit of an issue if you're a perfectionist. I'm not really a perfectionist, but this is like the first like really cool new toy I really care about that I've been waiting for 4 years to get that I got. And I want to like keep it really good. So it was a very tough decision to whether to keep it stainless steel and keep it maintained or to put a wrap on it to help make it easier to clean and keep it protected. So, but I figured there's going to be a lot of these stainless steel Cybertrucks out. I can appreciate the stainless steel on them pretty soon. So,
yeah. How big does a truck feel to drive? So if you compare it to say your Model X, does it feel considerably bigger to move around?
Yeah.
You're higher up a little bit.
You feel higher up and you feel big. Like in the past, like your Model X, at least, pickup truck drivers drive and they'd be like above you and you're like, I got no privacy. I could be looking at my phone, looking at what I'm looking at. But now I'm like almost on the same level as like the tallest of the pickup trucks, and so you just feel much higher up. And I mean, I need the windows tinted though, because that'll, prevent a lot of people from, easily like trying to get your attention or knock on the window if you're in, all that stuff. So,
yeah,
but I think it's great. Yeah.
Have you talked to any Cybertruck, any pickup truck owners specifically? Like, have you gotten their reactions to the truck?
Yeah, I have
What's their
talked to a
overall
number of
tone?
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, by and large, it's very positive reactions. I think it really there can be some kind of confusing like look at first, like or look of interest, like interest or curiosity, like you could just see the wheels turning in their head if it's the first time they're looking at it and evaluating it, but in a positive way. And I think it just gets them thinking a lot about it. And usually there's a lot of very positive reactions, and people say, "Oh, I want that. I should trade in my pickup to get that, or whatever. The waiting list's too long. I got to get a Rivian." Someone said, or whatever. So it's a long waiting list, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. And then you order your pickup. So you ordered it on day one, right? I mean, like that same
Yeah,
night you
the
placed your
first like
order in.
20 minutes I ordered it. Yeah, I would have ordered in the first like 2 minutes, but the thing kept timing. I was at the reveal event with Dave Lee. Actually, we were there, and we were like standing in line and kept trying to. I remember being on my iPhone trying to like get the order in, but it was getting like, I don't know, a DDoS attack, or I don't know, the server was timing out because everyone in the whole place was trying to do it, and it took about 20 minutes to finally pull it up and get my order in.
Yeah. And then another question I had, so the suspension you mentioned was extremely smooth. So which setting do you usually ride it on the Cybertruck?
I just like seems to auto go into low, I guess, once you start driving.
Okay.
But I do kind of like it in the high mode. If I'm going, you can't go over, like it says over 25 miles an hour, it comes out of the high mode, but I kind of like the high mode because you can kind of see further, if you're in traffic or something. And it's kind of cool. You can switch it to high mode in the middle of traffic or something, when you're stopped at a stoplight or something, but then you can see those extra few inches make a difference of how much further you can maybe see in the traffic. And I don't know, I just like being higher up. It's kind of nice. And I would prefer that, but I guess you get less range and but the low mode's nice too. It's still fine to me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna start pulling up some questions from X and YouTube. Did you have a list of other stuff you wanted to mention before we do Q&A?
Oh, good question. Not really. I mean, one thing I was going to mention that I know a lot of people, like other pickup drivers, have noticed or noted is that the bed, there's no access to the cabin from the bed. There's that little window, maybe.
The window.
But you can't slide it open, for example, like other pickups to get, like if I put my dog in the bed, I can't like slide it open to talk to her or whatever, I can't like, or for other reasons, maybe, I don't know. But I think that Tesla might've done that strategically, personally, just to like, for the future of like robo taxi delivery stuff or whatever, security, to compartmentalize the cabin from the bed completely for security reasons. So you can't go from one to the other. I don't know. I'm just thinking they probably did it on purpose that way, but I know that's been a note people have made about it.
Got it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna start pulling up questions here, and then we'll hit other topics as well. I want to pick your brain on a couple of things. Sure. I'm gonna pull up a question from X here. Road noise level. How would you describe it?
Like nothing. Oh my gosh, that's part of the reason it feels so amazing inside. It's like zero. You're like in some crazy, I don't know, it's just like sound studio or something. It's really incredible. Yeah. No road noise level. No road noise I can tell.
Do they have active noise canceling yet with the speakers? Do you know?
I don't know. That's a good question. They might not even need it. It's so canceling. I don't know, but
it's so tanky.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the reviewers, that question is interesting. One of the reviewers I was listening to, I forget who it was, but they said on the highway it had like some sort of oscillating sound. Do you notice that at all on yours?
No, I haven't noticed like an oscillating. Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't noticed that. No.
Yeah, I know sometimes if they get a nail in the tire, it could do that. I've had that happen to my car 4 times. Yeah, I've had 4 different nails in my Model Y, and each of them hit a different tire. So I replaced my entire set like 5,000 miles early because of freaking nails.
Oh yeah, I had to.
Fun.
I had to replace a number of tires because of the nails on my Plaid. Unfortunately.
Amazing. Yeah. Here we go. From Corey from X, does the dual motor feel fast enough? Any regrets not waiting for the Beast?
It does feel fast enough to me. Like it's kind of like Sure, it'd be nice to be a little faster sometimes when I'm showing it off to people, because I'm like, look how fast it goes. And to me, when I do it, I'm like, oh, this is really nothing compared to the Plaid. But other people are usually happy about it. But that's the only time I ever use the 0 to 60 or 0 to 90 or whatever in my Model S is when I'm showing it off to someone once in a while. If someone new was in the car and I wanted to like show them, or my kids are in the car and they want to just be like, come on, take us for a ride or do something crazy. And I'll go from get on the highway on ramp going, starting at 0 and get to 60 quickly or something. But, they're fine with how fast it is in the dual motor. I think it's like 4 seconds or something. That's plenty fast for me. Just the instant torque, when you press it and go to like really quickly get in front of someone and when you're changing lanes, that's all you need to make it like really functionally appreciated.
Got it. This one's, I think I'm going to point it to you as well, Emmett. How do you feel about the warning Tesla's telling Cybertruck buyers that they must clean bird droppings and bug guts immediately after driving? If left, will corrode the steel. So this is from a snapshot in the car. Have you seen that guidance from the company?
Yeah, I've heard of that. That you need to clean off the bird droppings and stuff, right away, or and so that's part of the reason I got mine wrapped, because I just, my Cybertruck, the first few days I put it in the garage because I just didn't want all the attention of people just like, in the neighborhood, or people coming from places following me home and stuff. So, but now I'm going to be parking it in my driveway like every day. And so it's going to even get worse because there's like trees, birds could be pooping or whatever. And so I decided I just need to get it wrapped because I can't handle having to, I have 3 kids and a dog and I'm doing all this stuff and I can't be like constantly maintaining clean stainless steel, everywhere.
Did you put any baby seats in the car? How old are your kids?
Oh, my kids are old enough. They're 7, 9, and 11. But it can fit 3 baby seats. For sure, it could fit 3 baby seats across in the back if you needed it. Yeah.
Are you concerned about like pinching the kids, like their hands and fingers and stuff? Because that was another thing that I saw in reviews that it doesn't seem to have sort of soft close, or it doesn't have like a pinch protection on some of the doors and panels and stuff. Are you concerned about that?
It looks, in a way, I think it's probably good because it looks like it's dangerous with the sharp edges, the razor edges. It looks dangerous. But in reality, every car door is dangerous if you shut it on someone's hand, like you're going to crush someone's finger, any car door, So the fact that it kind of looks a little dangerous, it makes people think and be a little more careful with it. But I haven't noticed any of my kids or any of the kids that see it have any issues. There's like the corners, which some people say are sharp, but I don't know. I don't think anyone's, maybe there's going to be a freak accident here and there where someone like runs into a corner and like it's a nasty like bruise or something. I don't know, but maybe we'll see that on YouTube somewhere someday. But yeah, I don't think.
I hope not.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'm not worried really. I'm not worried as long as my kids aren't trying to play games with the doors opening and closing on each other, which that could happen with any car. Then I think they're going to be fine.
For sure. Oh, excuse me. I don't know how to freaking speak all of a sudden. Wrong pipe. Oh my God. Congrats on the Cybertruck. What all features were bundled in Foundation Series?
Well, the self-driving, the Tuno cover. Am I pronouncing that right? Tuno cover.
Tuno.
Those French words. I don't even know how to pronounce. I think it's a French
damn
word.
French people.
Yeah, I've French. That was the one subject I failed in high school, but that I think, and I think there's some more things in the car somewhere. You get the Foundation print or signature on it in different places, and there might be some like light difference. I can't remember which light might be different. There's not a whole lot, but when you add it up, it's $20,000. And it's the full self-driving at like the full price as opposed to the $7,500, or I think I locked in a $7,500 price for full self-driving on my original. So I had to pay like $13,000 for the full self-driving instead. So that was like the big hit.
Gotcha. From David, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a badass do you feel driving it in public?
When you want to feel like a badass, you do feel like, but like, I feel like if I was in high school, I would like really enjoy it, like blasting music with the windows open or something down the street or something. But now I prefer to like keep the windows up and just like enjoy the music myself. But, certainly people, sometimes my kids always are looking out the window, be like, look, that person's doing they didn't even know what the word double take means. I had to explain what it means. Like when someone does this and this, now they're spotting me. Look, that person did a double take. That person did a double take. And they just like seeing the reaction of other people sometimes.
Yeah. Nelson, can you raise and lower the Cybertruck while driving?
I think you can. I mean, I've tried it a few times. I think you have to be going slow. But whenever I raise it to high while I'm driving even slow, and then I go back to it like a minute later, then it's back to low again. So I don't really know. I haven't figured that out quite yet. I have to have like an observer from the outside watch me and see what's going on there.
Gotcha. For Melville, have you tried the Baja Mode? It allows you to drive in a higher level on highway, apparently.
I have not tried that, but I would like to try that. Yeah, for sure. I guess I gotta mess with that Baja Mode. I tried to like do the Baja Mode one day or one night or something, but I couldn't remember. There was like maybe it was plugged in and it was like you can't lower or raise it while it's plugged in, it says. So that's one thing, but that's not a big deal. But I can't remember. I gotta go back to mess with the Baja Mode again.
How effective is fart mode?
I have not tried that. I have not tried it, but I have tried what's kind of cool is on your iPhone, you have, that reminds me of one more detail I want to talk about. That's very good. But on my iPhone, you have like, you know how in the other Teslas, you can like have the view of it and then press a button to make it fart when someone walks by or whatever. Well, on this one, you can press the button as a microphone and talk into it, and it talks out of the car or whatever you're saying, like a transformer, like a robot. This is kind of cool. I guess the other cars have that too, but it's just like it's super cool coming from the Cybertruck because it looks like a freaking transformer. That's what my mom first said to me. It's like, it looks like one of those toys you played with as a kid, Transformers. I was like, yeah. But the coolest feature, one of the coolest surprise features that's kind of a nuance that I totally did not know about or didn't expect is the front camera.
Okay.
So like for parking in tight spaces, like you have the steer by wire, you have the incredible turning radius, then you have this really wide angle fisheye lens, I think, front camera down at the like level of the ground with two white, not just backup white lines, but front facing white lines of where you're going. And it really helps you direct yourself into like any kind of tight parking spot. Like there's so many parking spots I would never even tried in my Model X that I feel confident I can do it in my Cybertruck, no problem because of that. So it's really helpful. Like let you get, because you don't know how far forward your kind of front windshield goes. It feels like it just goes endless, like really far. So you kind of like naturally stop way too early. But when you have this front facing camera, it lets you go right up to the curb, this close, and then you can just stop and you get out and you're like, oh, that was great,
While you talk about that, how's the Squircle, like the yoke steering wheel, not
I like
yoke
this
thing? Okay.
I like it better than the yoke. I had the original yoke on the Model S Plaid, and it was okay. I got used to it. I liked it better than a bigger steering wheel because it didn't obstruct my view and it's just more comfortable. But this one is a little tall, a little more rectangular, I guess, or not less rectangular, more of a square, but still rectangle. But it's just, I don't know, the shape of it. I just like it better. Like I can put a hand on top and rest it easily. It just seems to be very, very ergonomic.
It seems like that steering wheel design has a lot less of a sort of hate towards it because of steer by wire, because you can do turn to turn. You never have to move your hand out of the position, so the blinker's always right next to your thumb. Have you noticed that too?
Yeah, the blinkers are much more convenient because they're actually click buttons as opposed to the Model S where it was like a touch sensitive, and like sometimes one of the touches wouldn't even notice my thumb and it wouldn't work, which is annoying. Yeah. But it's a click, so the blinkers are right there, convenient. I'm used to it, and you just click it to blink, and yeah, it just seems to work fine. Yeah.
Cool.
I don't need a stalk. There's no stalks.
Yeah, let me do a couple more, and then we'll hit other topics. Yeah. Actually, Charles, sorry, dude, I just stole your question. Did it take long to get used to the all-wheel steering? So I guess this is all four wheels. Like, have you noticed any difference there? Yeah.
No, it just feels like driving a smaller car. I mean, I've driven smaller cars many times in my life, but I guess if you're used to driving a truck, it would take a while to get used to. But I have never driven really a truck before. Like I've never had a pickup truck before. I've never owned one. I've driven them, but I've never owned one or whatever. So like if I was driving a pickup truck only and I'm used to doing like 3-point turns on U-turns or whatever here and there, and then suddenly I go to the Cybertruck, I'm sure it would be a big difference to adjust to. But for me, it just felt like going back to like the steering of a Model 3 or something, even though I have a much bigger car. It was interesting.
So it makes the car smaller, it sort of like reduces the size. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to be good for folks that don't like bigger cars. I'm actually going to throw 2 more on top of this one.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them came in that were good. From Corey again, is Emmet going to take advantage of the power share vehicle to grid feature and the gateway install?
I don't think it's ready yet I don't think Tesla's installing them yet. I mean, I when I took my order on December 9th, I tried to like check all the boxes that didn't prevent me from getting a delay in my order. So I didn't want the Cyberbeast because I knew that it was later. I didn't want to get the battery extender pack because I know that's not ready yet, and that might make my order take longer. And I didn't. So I didn't check this either because I was like, I'm pretty sure they're probably not installing that in the first Tesla Cybertruck. So I'm just gonna get all the minimal things to try to make an efficient, fast delivery acceptance for me. And so that's what I selected. But eventually, I may do that. I already have power walls in my garage, but admittedly, the Cybertruck battery is bigger than all my power walls combined. So, I mean, it makes sense to get this set up too, but it's just not top priority for me right now, but eventually it would be nice to have.
Have you had to back into a supercharger yet?
No, I thought about going to supercharger, but I felt like, the other day when I was near one, because I, could have for like 100 miles, but I didn't really need to. But then I was like, well, people are probably going to like all come up, start talking to me. And I just needed to go somewhere else soon. So it's okay. But sometimes you just want to like get from A to B,
Yeah, for sure. And then last one here for Cybertruck. How is the charging time compared to your Model S? Also, is it still recommended to only charge the Cybertruck to 80% or is it 100% for the regular charge?
It says 80% on the app initially when you start using it, or on the Tesla Cybertruck. I've been charging it to 90% recently. This morning I charged it to 90%. It said 286 miles, or 283 miles or something. So 90%. That means at 100% it would be over 300. I would, so that's interesting to me that maybe my battery pack's bigger. Maybe they haven't adjusted the EPA range to the battery pack guide, because it's supposed to be 290 or something like that. I thought the dual motor
with the dual wheel drive, I think on all terrains is 310.
Oh, okay.
EPA.
So then I'm right where I'm supposed to be then. For some reason, I thought it was just under 300 at the EPA rating for the dual motor.
For the Beast, maybe. For the Cyberbeast, maybe.
Okay.
I think what it is too is I believe Tesla's starting to use the new cycle for the EPA, because I know like they adjusted the cycle testing for the EPA, and I think the Cybertruck's using the one that was more accurately representative of what the EP, so they're closer to what the EPA is saying. Okay. Yeah.
So, but I haven't charged at the supercharger yet to see how many miles per hour. I'd want to go to one of the most like newer superchargers, because I think what are we up to, version 3 or version 3.5 superchargers or something? I don't keep up with it anymore, but we're up to like a new version of supercharger that's even faster capability. So I'd want to go to one of those when like the Cybertruck's low, and then plug it in and see how the maximum, rate it goes at. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm gonna start picking your brain on some other stuff too. It's sort of Cybertruck adjacent, but sure. We both follow the Tesla story very closely. A lot has happened in the last 2 years. Launch of the Cybertruck. You got Elon purchasing Twitter, now X. You have a bunch of details coming out about the compact car. You have the Tesla bot making a lot of different improvements over the last couple of years, and then you have a stock that is not doing that well relative to the last 3 years' performance, let's say. Where's your head at right now with the overall Tesla story? How Cybertruck fits in? I'd love to pick your brain a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you believe him, the big question mark is Elon Musk to me. Like when he mentioned about the needing 25% ownership to feel comfortable or confident, and having enough influence to kind of really ramp up the AI and robotics business of Tesla. That was to me like, ooh, like long-term investor, pink flag, not red flag, but pink flag, and just something to watch carefully, and so I want him to get this influence, of course, that he wants. in whichever way possible. And it sounds like it's hinged at this moment in time on that Delaware court case until he can talk to the board to negotiate the new comp package, which will give him that influence he would want. So I kind of think it makes sense, more sense. Like one theory I have, or one, it's sort of like pessimistic of the past, but optimistic for the future, that Elon, he doesn't really care a whole lot about the stock price anyway, because he knows that Tesla doesn't ever need to raise capital again at this point. They can survive, it can fund all its own growth it needs. But at the same time, I think part of him thinks, I'm okay with the stock languishing because my comp package isn't set up yet, and it makes it more convenient to get a comp package that's achievable if the stock price is not, flying high already, if that makes sense. So that's sort of a pessimistic viewpoint of what's going on up till now, but optimistic for the future, because when this comp package hits for him, and it might not be immediately, but within like months, I would imagine, like if that view is correct, then within months, you'd think like, okay, let's turn on the advertising. Let's release full self-driving 12 to everyone and do the deal with Miami or Austin to set up the robotaxi network. Let's do this. It would just be like all of a sudden things would start turning faster, like, to move the company forward. Not that it's not going to do that already, but maybe it's just kind of like the cheetah stance, kind of like getting everything ready and then off to the races, and I think all the new initiatives they could maybe move forward on would be very good for the stock price after that point. So that's sort of a combination, pessimistic, pessimistic in that like Elon is actually subconsciously acting that way, versus optimistic, like, okay, this is a great time to be owning the stock because you have all this to look forward to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Do you think that there is a legitimate chance that he doesn't get his comp package? And if so, what's the outcome?
Yeah, that's the big worry. That's the pink flag to watch, right? So it could turn into a red flag if he does not get a comp package, even after the court case ends, and then within weeks or a month or two, there's no comp package, or it sounds like they're not making progress on it for whatever reason, which I doubt that would happen. I highly doubt that. But I think more likely is this court case kind of gets dragged out somehow. I'm not a lawyer. I put a tweet out there not long ago. Any lawyers out there can give information. A couple lawyers said like, this could get appeals could go on for years or whatever. But then another guy, David Tayer or something, who seems to be, somewhat respected in the Tesla community, said he has friends in the Delaware court system, and he's told that within a few weeks it should be decided upon by the judge or something. So if that's true, and he's pretty confident about that. So if that was true, then and he put it on the Twitter in responses to me. So it's like open source right there for anyone who's looking into it, wants to see it. So if that's true, then that would be very good. But if it's going to take years, it's already been over a year, right? So if it takes more years for it to be decided, and it's no comp package, and maybe he just, worst case is he does it all under X.AI or whatever, like creates, AI through there, and then somehow controls the IP through that company, and then, maybe manufactures the robots with Tesla or not. I don't know. So it just, there's a lot of variables here and a lot of balls in the air to be worried about. What do you think about this stuff?
I think it's interesting because I have a hard time believing that there's that much work being put into the bot and FSD already, and this comp package will drastically move the direction of like the outcome of those technologies. Because I do feel like and again, this is obviously I'm just freaking spitballing here. I don't have a crystal ball. Who says that often? But I just think it's one of those things where maybe he's just making the conversation public for retail investors, because one of the things I think Elon have done relatively well in the past is that I think he gives retail investors more information than your usual CEO, and it's very unorthodox for somebody of his in his position in the company to say, hey, this is what I'm talking to the board about in just a public setting. People are like, whoa, that's weird. But I think it's just hey, this is what we're working on, because the conversation does come up often. I'm sure he reads, comp package all the time. And it's one of those, he's in the toilet and he's like, let me reply to this real quick. And then of course people are like, oh my God, what does that mean? I think I view it more, and again, this might be wrong for me to do that, but I think it's a non-event, to be honest.
I hope so. I hope it's not.
I've been way too optimistic. No, you're good. I've been way too optimistic about stuff in the past, and this could be my streak of optimism, kicking off here. But I think it's a non-event. I think the company has already put in a ton of work into things like the bot and FSD. It doesn't seem like they've really slowed that down. If anything, that work has accelerated with the improvements in the bot and the progress they're making with V12. And so I think, but by the time the comp package becomes a reality, the targets for that thing are probably going to be 5 to 10 years in the future anyway. They're going to have things like, reach a market cap of, I don't know what the numbers are, but reach a market cap of 5 trillion and sell 1 million Optimus bots and do, 1 billion miles of driverless robotaxi miles paid. I think it's going to be that kind of targets for the comp package, because that really will decide if the company, that comp package will define if the company has reached its long-term goals for its next evolution, whatever that is. Because it's, I think Elon has talked about how Tesla's not just a car company, it's an AI company. So that comp package should be reflective of Tesla not being just a car company that's also an AI company. So a lot of those targets are going to be crafted around that. So I think it's just, they just have to figure that thing out. My gut tells me is that it's already been figured out.
It's probably been figured out between like behind closed doors or unofficially.
Like months ago.
Once the case decided, they'll wait a week or something, then they'll push it out or something for approval. There's just some date they have to get it out there to get it approved, voted on, I think, if they want to vote on in the annual shareholder meeting this coming. I think Tesla Boomer Mama was talking about that, but there's other ways they can do it too. But I think most likely a non-event. I would say, like, I try to think probabilistically, but this is enough of a scenario for me to think about and put like a probability of like more than 10%, in my opinion. I'd say
what's the probability?
I would say 80% that it's like, non-event one way or another. 10% chance that we're going to really have to like worry about it. Maybe 10 to 15% chance that we're going to really worry about it for a while. And it's going to like, make Elon create some serious drama that we're all going to kind of unexpect, not see come and be like, oh my gosh, Elon might leave the company. Oh, now he's back, or whatever. And then there's like a 5% chance that it like ends very negatively for long-term Tesla investor. Not like very negatively, not like Tesla goes bankrupt or anything, but instead of being a 10x in the next 5 years, Tesla's like a 2x in the next 5 years, from just manufacturing gross margins with autos and a Tim Cook at the helm type person or something.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the Tim Cook example, because some of the parallels that I'm starting to like, I've been thinking through a lot with the Tesla story is there are some. So like I'm getting a hint of what happened at Apple back when Steve Jobs was kicked out and then was brought back in. Like I'm seeing like little flavors of that with some of the investing base with Tesla, where they don't want, like, they're like, well, get Elon out the door. He's distracted. Yeah. He's a detriment to the company.
And other people.
And I'm like, y'all need to like read history a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
Like it's, I just listen. People are entitled to their own opinion. I fully support them voicing it, and I cherish it and I celebrate it. But I think there is something to be said about, are we reaching a point now as like, say, a society almost, or not even a community or a group of people that are just being way too unrealistically negative about what's going on here, and are we being a little too emotional and a little too reactive to the markets versus what's actually happening with the business, And so that's what I'm constantly trying to figure out. It's like, okay, if I'm going to talk about the company or what's happening, I need to separate market with what's at the ground floor. And there's been this divergence that's continuing to grow between, in my opinion, again, this is just, I don't know if this is happening, but this is how I see it, is that execution and ground level truth of what's happening at the company is diverging from sentiment as these foundations are being laid out. And I think there is a level of frustration and impatience as it pertains to the company's market performance and how it's being viewed by the investing community versus the underlying technologies that are being developed that should allow the company to reach its long-term potential as it pertains to its AI technologies. And it's sort of reminiscent to me to say like 2012, 2013, back when, this thing was like a weird black box that nobody understood. And then all of a sudden people were like, holy crap, this company can actually make a profit. And then everybody piled on in 2012, 2013. And then 2019, 2020, it was, that 5 year sort of like nothing was happening. And then, through that entire year, he doesn't know what he's doing with the Model 3. What a piece of crap. They're never going to reach profitability. This is just a scam artist, Enroning the hell out of it. And then once they prove they can make a profit multiple quarters in a row, then everybody's like, oh crap, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so it's
that.
like, it feels very, and again, past performance shouldn't be like indicative of future results. Like we shouldn't say, just because it happened before, it's going to happen again. But I think the underlying lesson there is like, what was the company or where the people working there working on the technologies that would differentiate them from everybody else for the coming decade? And I don't know. It just, to me, it's just a sort of a thing where history keeps repeating itself. That's how I view it. I mean, that's how I'm thinking about this whole thing. I don't know if anything resonates.
I agree with 100% of that. The stakes keep getting higher. 2012, 2013 was a 2 or 3 billion, 4 billion market cap company, and almost the equivalent of what Lemonade insurance company is today, which we talk about, 1 billion company. So it was a tiny company, and then it zoomed up to like 50 billion market cap company for 5 years, which was substantial suddenly, and then it zipped up now to like 500 billion to a trillion market cap. So this is a huge market cap company right now that, it's huge already, but for it to become even huger, like to become like world dominating, then it has to deliver on the Optimus and the full self-driving. And so that's the next big thing, really.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do think the Optimus and the full self-driving will define the company for the next 10 years. And especially because they could increase the valuation of the company through volume and maybe
the
if they can get
the volume, like maybe all that stuff goes and the company becomes like a $2 trillion market company in a few years.
But the PE won't be there.
Yeah,
exactly. What have you been keeping up with a lot of the sort of compact car rumors and stuff? And so Elon's saying trial production late next year. Do you think that's on the money? Do you think that's a sandbag? Do you think that's optimistic? How are you thinking about that next gen platform?
I would love to talk to someone who has like got insights with like Tesla engineers still, but my gut tells me that it's going to be the year after that. That they're telling suppliers this timeline, and they often tell suppliers these more aggressive timelines to get their shit in order, like get ready to deliver to us. We're your number one customer. Make sure you have your shit ready so we can, sorry to curse. I shouldn't be cursed. Sorry. Did you get your stuff ready to deliver to us when we ask you? We could be asking you for as early as now or anytime forward, so this is our deadline to meet us by. And so they can weed out the suppliers that they don't think are going to be competent enough. So I think it's still going to be a year after what he says, to be honest.
Okay. So you're expecting 2026 next gen vehicle,
end of 2026 car, maybe they'll deliver the first ones or something, and 2027 will be a ramp up year or something like that.
Yeah. So between now and then, it's basically so between 2024, 2025 and part of 2026, it's like holding pattern for FSD V12 being the software potentially, and waiting for the compact car.
Focused on the Cybertruck ramp, which will, I think, get up to, I think they could really announce like capacity to install for 500,000 a year. Like right now, I think their planned capacity is only like 250,000 or something, but I think they could potentially, announce like, oh, we're going to be making 500,000, and eventually it could be 1 million a year. Who knows? But I think they're going to announce that. To me, I don't see how this doesn't sell less than 500,000 a year at the $65,000 or $70,000 price point, even worst case, But I think that's going to happen soon, and then they're going to be ramping that along with more. And I think they're going to introduce some traditional advertising on how cost effective Model 3 and Model Y is. Like we've been calling for a long time. Once Elon's comp package is set, I think that's what my gut tells me. Maybe not like the next day, but within a month or two.
You've been one of the earliest ones that I can remember where you were like, education campaigns are very, very important here. I think you were calling it like a year plus ago.
Yeah, like
maybe even longer.
2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know, but right on the first price cut, right when rumors were coming of the first price cut, I was like, oh my gosh, they need to really get the word out that these cars are the best car you can get for the price. Like, why should anybody be buying an Audi A4 or BMW 3 Series when they can get a Model 3 for the same price? Like, this is ridiculous. Like that, 9 out of 10 car buyers are still not buying a Tesla at the same price points. They're buying competitor ICEs. It's just, it seemed to me like so obvious, and it always befuddled me why Elon was not reluctant. And now maybe it makes sense. Maybe this is an answer to me, is that okay, the comp package, now I get it.
So help me connect the comp package to advertising. I'm struggling to understand.
So if he had advertised before, like a year and a half ago, then they'd be delivering all the cars they can make. They probably would be delivering even more. Maybe they would, slightly more, because they would have more uptime. They would have less downtime. They'd be, they have more capacity being installed already, and because the word would get out, and then they'd be selling them at a higher price, so the margins would still be 30% instead of 15 or 16%, and so the stock right now would be like $500 instead of $200, if that makes sense. So the comp package would be less beneficial if the stock was already at $500 versus if he gets the comp package now and the stock's at $200. Does that make sense?
So you think that's a premeditated move? That's like,
no.
Hey, don't. Okay.
I don't think it's premeditated. I think it's maybe subconscious or something, like a convenience move. Like, this fits with, how the puzzle of how to best serve humanity and it makes sense to me. Like, he just wants to have enough influence so it doesn't turn into Skynet,
Okay. How are you viewing X and its impact to the rest of the Elon story as it pertains to, I guess as it pertains to Tesla specifically? So he bought the platform in 2012. Damn, I can't believe it's like 2024 already. Right? He bought it in 2012? Yeah, he bought it in 2022. 2022. What am I saying?
You mean you're talking about Twitter? Okay.
Twitter, yeah.
Tesla like 2002 or 2008 or so. I don't
know what I'm saying anymore, Emmet. So 2022, he bought Twitter. It's been about a year and a half, let's call it, since he bought it. How are your thoughts about his involvement in the company? How the platform is evolving? How is it impacting your overall thesis for Tesla and Elon? Is it net positive, net negative? Help me understand where you're standing.
I mean, it was very inconvenient for Tesla's stock price and Tesla's valuation as a short-term or medium-term investor. As a long-term investor, it's not going to have much of a difference to me. But I think it's very necessary for the world, to survive as we know it more likely. Like preserving free speech. I was always for that. I always said, like, I never bashed him for buying Twitter. I always, even though I hated seeing the Tesla stock price go down, I always said I understand why he needs to do this. It's tough for us as investors or whatever, but this is the greater good, in my opinion, too. Like, he needs to help preserve free speech, and this is the best place to do it with. If he tries to create his own platform from the ground up, the network effects will take many years to try to catch up to what Twitter was or whatever. So it just felt like the right move he had to do, and he saw it and he did it. And I was glad he did it. To be honest, when we first heard rumors, I was very torn, like it was bittersweet, but I was very glad that he went through with it. Like, even up to the last minute, there was a lot of uncertainty about it. He was trying to get out of it or not. I think ultimately he always knew he'd had to do it, but he thought he could just get it at a much cheaper price if he can get out of that initial deal, because the market tanked like right after that with the Ukraine war and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm glad he did it. I think it's great. It's a great way to get information and news. When I go to if I look at, any mainstream legacy media stuff, it just feels like I'm reading, what are those magazines they used to sell at the grocery store front counter to try to get you
Tabloid.
to? Yeah, it felt like it feels like tabloids. Everything else feels like tabloids, and
Mm.
some of them are like coordinated tabloids, which is strange. Some of the stories, like they'll all put some ridiculous story on together that feels like, why should anyone care about this? Like the freaking Homeland Security Secretary forgot to call in sick. Like, let's all write it on the front page of the newspaper and distract everyone
Yeah.
from something else. I don't know. It was so bizarre, And,
Yeah.
and yeah, so there's like weird thing. You just wake up to the weird shenanigans of more of, and I don't think the legacy media was always like that. I just think it's become more increasingly like that since we went away from print newspapers to be everything kind of like centralized, like internet, website stuff, and like
Yeah.
for cable news channels.
Yeah, I actually I'm starting to develop a theory for X that might be a little out there. And I'm going to say it publicly for the first time. I think this might be his greatest, most profitable endeavor yet with X. Because I think what has happened with the platform that I've noticed firsthand with data is that there's been a clear shift or opening of the Overton window. And those that are not familiar with the Overton window is basically like what is acceptable to be talked about in a given time period. And so if I use a very concrete example, there is a video on my channel that is it's an edit of a space that was hosted on X with extremely controversial figures like Alex Jones, Andrew Tate, and there was and Elon was on there obviously as well. And so what we do with some of these is because it's very hard to find these on X. It's like the way to find media on X right now is extremely difficult outside of written text, and the spaces are super choppy. They have huge blanks at the beginning. There's a lot of pauses and weird audio glitches that happen, and the audio quality is not the greatest. So we take that, we boost the audio, we edit down all the pauses, we repackage it and make it actually accessible to people, and then we post it for people to watch. And then we always get credit to
you guys do. I've seen it. Yeah, it's been very helpful.
Yeah,
I listen to it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And it's the thought process here is like, hey, let's bring exposure to things that people are just going to be blind to because no one else is doing it. We figure we're going to do that. And so I posted that on YouTube. And I'm like, okay, this is my actually demonetize the channel because it's got Alex Jones, Andrew Tate, and YouTube's not very happy with either of them because a lot of the stuff they say oftentimes violate their terms of service, or demonetize because they feel like it's not advertiser friendly, or they'll bring down the visibility because they feel like people for whatever reason it's not people shouldn't be watching it. And so I noticed the opposite happen. So this thing was pushed everywhere and it was monetized. Both things happen. So I'm like, interesting. That's weird. Because, YouTube's been known in the past. And I love YouTube. This video's on YouTube. It's given me the ability to do this things, since I left my last job. And it's given me I married up my passion with a new project that I'm building on. It's like, it's weird. I'm extremely lucky to have YouTube in my life. But I think a lot of us that have experienced YouTube know that there's an artificial cap on some stuff that they placed in the past that a lot of people be like, why are you like preventing the reach of that? It's just someone sharing an opinion. It is what it is. It's freedom of speech, right? It's not illegal.
Yeah.
And now I'm noticing that a huge difference is that I'm noticing that there's a lot of controversial stuff that we weren't allowed to listen to, let's say, is now not only everywhere for us to find and push to us, but it's also monetized. So I'm really wondering if we're in a new age of sort of media where advertisers are going to be able to capitalize on product and videos that a lot of people have been hungry for, that have been artificially suppressed. And what my theory is that over time, in the next, say, 12 to 24 months, especially as the election cycle kicks off here in the United States, or it has been kicking off, is that you're going to have a gigantic amount of media on X that will be born in X with that principle of mind of just let freedom of speech reign. And advertisers are going to be like, look at how many eyeballs are on there. People are now used to us monetizing on this stuff, and they're going to just freaking toss money at that thing like crazy.
I think advertising is going to really come back with a vengeance to X.
Oh, I mean, listen, I think we've had this sort of, I think a lot of these companies meant well when they were trying to align their advertising, let's say, ethicalness to what they advertise on. But I think some of it was definitely driven by organizations that would tar and feather them in public if they showed advertising next to something that was deemed inappropriate or just, borderline. Let's say it's like getting close to the line of, let's say, hate speech or controversial stuff. And I think these advertisers are like, well, we don't want to be, yelled at in public. Like, oh my God, let's definitely stay away from that stuff. And now with this thing, just the Overton window has been shattered wide open on X, and it's starting to leak on YouTube. You're not seeing nearly as much, in my opinion, reaction from that stuff. Like I haven't really seen anyone get canceled in the last 12 months. Yeah, I haven't. No one's getting canceled anymore. So advertisers, I think, are less afraid to be in that spotlight. And they're going to be, they're going to take a lot more risks, I believe, because they're just going to seek eyeballs. And in the end, if they're a business and they're in business on advertising, you just want to seek eyeballs. And so that's my theory, is I think X is actually going to be extremely, extremely profitable very soon here because of that dynamic. Do I sound crazy?
No. I think it makes a lot of sense that, advertising is going to rebound on X sooner or later. I don't know how I feel about advertising in general. I feel like that business model, the whole business model of advertising is sort of the source code of what's corrupt with all the media, issues in this country. So, I've like the last few years, I've thought about it a lot. And I'm like, man, the advertising business model really is wrecking this country. That's the source of the clickbait headlines and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know, but I do think that you're right that advertising should and will come back to X, and it could come back with a strong, wave of revenue for X, for sure. So that's very possible, and I guess we'll just see how it develops from there. I mean, I do trust Elon. Like in Elon, we trust. As investors, I always lots of long-term investors say that.
Where's the shirt?
Yeah, I know. We need to put that on a shirt. I should print out a share certificate and say that at the bottom. So I do trust Elon running it, and and figuring out the best way to make use of advertising revenue without letting it run rampant to create clickbait hysteria. So. We'll see, but I think X will be very profitable. I'm not sure it'll be the most profitable of all his companies, but I think it'll be very profitable, just like all his companies in the long run. Yeah,
I think I'll have one of the highest, if not highest, profit margin percentage over the long term. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a software only company, basically. It seems like a good, very well. I like the subscription model. I like a lot of the stuff he's trying to push out with payments. There's a lot of innovation going on that I think could result in a ton of revenue for the company.
Yeah, plus financial services and all that stuff too, like the marketplace and all kinds of craziness. Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to hit anything else before we call the sucker a wrap? What do you think?
No, I mean, I think, I just appreciate what you're doing and all the other Tesla, people who put content out on Tesla, and Elon, especially, and Tesla, just to help clear the air on talk about things in long form factor versus sound bites, and people trying to get the information from sound bites, TikTok sound bites or whatever, So I appreciate you and all the other folks out there doing this stuff regularly. I think it's a really good service to just not only the existing shareholders, but the entire community of people that will be discovering you from now going forward too. So just keep up doing what you're doing. I'm glad it's become a business model that you can, live with and do well with. If done right, you're a testament to that. So this is really an incredible time in history to be living in, to see these kind of like new businesses, come out of virtually nowhere and become like huge successes. So keep doing what you're doing. It's great.
Well, that's kind words. Thank you, Emmet. Yeah, and again, I people that watch me know this, but tremendous respect for you. The amount of work you've put into sort of analyzing Tesla and helping people understand the long-term story and sort of, and just not just related to Tesla, but just the overarching technologies, period, like how society is changing because of these technologies. I think sometimes people miss like it is, yeah, there's this company that's making it happen, but in reality this shift's going to happen anyway with society. So it's like, which are the companies that are capitalizing on that shift, or which are the companies that are actually driving that change? And I think sometimes, it's easy to get lost as like, oh well, it's just Tesla's just doing the thing, and they're just existing there, and it's not going to work out in the long term. It's like, y'all, the society's changing.
Yeah.
Like society's changing, and there's going to be companies that either drive that change or are part of the second leg of the change, but humans change over time. And I think that's one of the interesting things about the story, is that they're at the forefront of some of the largest shifts in technology, really in human history. And I think it's fair enough to say. The level of success will differ, but how the world is changing is really the bigger story here. And it just so happens that these companies and this individual are driving and being part of so many of those large scale shifts. And it's very exciting to see other companies too that are popping up that are also playing in those spaces. So yeah. So thank you again for all the work you've done in the past. Thank you for coming on the channel with me, and freaking enjoy that Cybertruck, bro. I'm looking
forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it back at the end of the week. So.
Hell yeah, man. All right. You're welcome back anytime, Emmet. I really appreciate you, brother.
All right. Thanks, Farzad. Good chatting.
All right.
All right.
We'll sign off.